Where do I start with my nutrition? I want to make some changes. What do I do and where do I start?
Right. So maybe you've got the kick. Maybe you watched a show on Netflix. You watched a great documentary and you're ready to let's do this.
There are very few great documentaries.
Let's do this. Let's go vegan right now. I just watched whatever.
Don't go vegan. Okay, but continue.
Right. So I something in my life has sparked me to eat better. Like, what should I do? Should I just go all in and change everything, or maybe what's a smarter approach, Coach Ashley?
Hire a coach. I hate this because
you're so self-promoting. Look at you just self-promoting.
I don't even care. I appreciate it. If people work with me, maybe I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I totally get that, but I think finding someone that can help you is important because we all know what to do, then why don't we do it? Because I don't necessarily think knowing and doing are two very different things. A coach is going to keep you actionable to doing that. But if I was going to tell someone, there is one thing to start doing right now, it would be to clean out what's in your house.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one, right? Because that comes back to environment, right? We are what we consume ourselves with, right? We are what we read. We are who we hang out with. We are the environments that we hang out in. So if we hang out in crappy environments, we're probably going to eat a lot of crappy things. So, I mean, that's a super easy. I mean, it's not easy. It's easy to talk about, but super hard to actually do. It's super hard to throw things away.
So I think the other thing is we know what we should do, but do we know how to read a label to know if it's a good choice or not? And I think this is where getting someone to help you support, these are the things that you should be looking for on a label that are tossed. This is why I would toss them. I think if you're going to make a nutrition change, get the canola. Want me to keep going on? Do you want to talk about did you have an idea of where you wanted this conversation to go?
No, I mean I had zero agenda, but it's just a lot of people all right, I'm ready to make nutritional changes. I could do X, Y, and Z. What should I do first? And so I think there's a lot of good places to start. I mean, I think the environment thing is huge, but some people aren't ready to commit to that level of
I honestly
committedness.
Think is the number one place that people should start.
Say it one more time. What was that?
I think getting a coach or getting someone to help you get started is really the best place. And my argument, people do this all the time for going to the gym. I'm going to wait until I'm in shape to work with a trainer. The best time to work with someone is when you're getting started, whether it's fitness or nutrition, because they will get you started correctly. So when you come and you've been working out on your own and maybe you've lost some weight and now you're ready to work with a coach, but you have been doing squats incorrectly for the last 9 months, now I'm going to have to spend the next 9 weeks fixing your squat where I could have gotten you squatting. Maybe your knees wouldn't be bothering you as much. There's other things that you could do as a coach to fix those things. And the same goes with nutrition. You can go it alone, but we have seen what works and we kind of have a more streamlined process to get you there and to get you there quicker.
Right. I mean, that's with any coaching process, right? The reason you hire a coach is to basically get results faster because you're taking the knowledge that someone else has and being able to apply it. So instead of having to read all the books and do all the research, someone else has already done that for you. So, I mean, that's one of the things with coaching. Accountability is another one. But all right, so let's say they did hire a coach. Let's say they're working with you. What would be one of the first things that you might suggest that they change? What's an easy win that's maybe easy to do but has a lot of return, right? So small investment, big return.
Adding vegetables to every meal.
Cool. How do you do with breakfast? Breakfast is the hard one. Give me some breakfast vegetables.
Maybe I should go adding fruits or vegetables to every meal because I think just in general we don't eat enough because fruit is bad in a lot of diet strategies. Fruit gets a bad rap because it has carbs, but I think adding color to your day is important. So veggie ideas for breakfast. So if you're doing eggs, anything that I would roast, I would put into my eggs. So pre-cooked veggies from dinner last night. So I have leftover Brussels sprouts from dinner. When I made breakfast this morning, I made a hash. I had leftover sweet potatoes and leftover Brussels sprouts, and I just made a hash. So everything went in a bowl, and I tossed a couple eggs on top, and I ate it. Not really fancy,
Right.
not really glamorous, but any vegetable can be a breakfast vegetable. Ones that are really easy to use in breakfast, peppers, onions, I think are like very easy to people because they would naturally put them in an omelet. So an omelet could be a really good choice. Any extra leftover roasted vegetables you have for a week, you can put them into egg muffins or into an egg bake, and then you could eat that the next couple days for breakfast. So leftovers into breakfast for veggies is one of my go-tos.
What if I don't like eggs? What if I'm not into the eggs?
So
What do I do?
You could hash without eggs. So sweet potatoes, maybe some bacon, maybe some Brussels sprouts, and I would eat that as a breakfast hash. I personally would add some protein powder and do like a shake with that because I know I'm not going to get enough protein with that.
I thought you were going to say I'm going to add some protein powder to the hash.
No, I'm going to have like a shake with it. Like, so I would be getting.
That sounds disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, adding it to the thing? No, that would be awful. Don't add protein powder to your hash. That sounds like the worst decision you could ever possibly make. Don't listen to Trevor is what I'm saying today. If other things that I really like, banana pancakes, you could add protein powder to them. You can make them. You will need eggs, but most people, if you don't like eggs, a cooked egg isn't necessarily a problem. You can make them without egg as well. Gelatin works for the if you needed to make like an egg substitute type thing to hold it together. Protein shakes are another really great option, especially if you're kind of a grab and go person. You can prep it and get everything together the night before. Riced cauliflower is one of my go-tos into a smoothie because it doesn't have any taste. Here's a great way to get a veggie in your
frozen.
Yeah, I just use the frozen rice stuff and I take it out. Any of the rice veggies you could actually toss into a smoothie. Carrots, like you could use like canned pumpkin is a great way to put in a smoothie because now we're talking like pumpkins. You could do a pumpkin spice like style smoothie. Beets are another one, like the frozen riced beets that you can buy in a grocery store. I'll toss those into smoothies, especially with like a banana and like blueberries and stuff because the color will still be really good. I don't love putting spinach into smoothies. I know that's a lot of people's go-to, but I don't like the color that it turns my stuff. So I've opted for veggies that fit the color scheme. So like if
you're so bougie.
I am so bougie.
You're so bougie with your shakes. I don't like the color. Give me a break.
But I think there's tons of veggies that you could sneak in that like won't change. Like, I mean, put spinach in it if it's your thing or kale. I don't really care. But like, know that there's a whole variety of vegetables that also work in shakes as well. Riced cauliflower actually can make your smoothie really creamy too.
The rice thing is actually really interesting. Like I had actually never thought of that. So I think that's a really interesting one. Avocado is another one that can help cream things up if you like a little more of like a pudding type of. And it doesn't really add a lot of taste.
No, it doesn't. But you can actually buy avocados frozen as well too, which I think is really awesome. So I buy frozen avocados to put into my smoothies. Or if my avocados are going to go bad, I cut them, slice them, and then I stick them in the freezer, and then I just use them. Can you warm up overnight oats? I have yet to warm up overnight oats. I just eat them cold.
I don't know why you couldn't. Like I want cook them. Maybe just like zap them for a little bit. I know you kind of you're one of those anti-microwave people, aren't you?
I'm not a fan, but I mean it's not that I don't ever use the microwave.
So if you're an anti-microwaver, you could throw them either like in the oven on broil or something, or just in a pan.
But if you don't like the cold overnight oats, why don't you do like an oatmeal bake? Where you would bake them and then you could just reheat them however you would like to reheat them.
Yeah, oatmeal bakes are actually really interesting. We did one a couple of weeks ago, and they can be really good. But again, like we just have to be careful whenever we're making oats the main ingredient of our breakfast, right? Because oats is going to be a high carb food. Not that it's good or bad. It's going to like drive the carb intake of that meal a lot higher. And if I'm not a carb tolerant person, that's probably not the best breakfast option for me. It's maybe better than, I don't want to say better than nothing because intermittent fasting is interesting, but
some people, but it's better than cake for breakfast.
Not as delicious, but correct. It is better than cake.
I think there's the time and the place for a meal like that. And I don't think that's what I eat every single week for breakfast. I do think oats are also a very interesting thing to put into your egg bakes, which I know a lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, Ashley, here she goes crazy again. But I have ground up oats and made like oat flour, and I've made them like a crust in an egg bake before. So like there are very interesting things you could do with them. My concern would be the meal would be predominantly carb heavy. You're not, and it might swing your blood sugar for the day, where maybe you're hungry at 10 a.m. and then you're making bad choices. Is it a gateway food to making bad choices? But I think it's a really fun way to do something fun if you're like having guests and company and you still want to have something healthy, but more like, I think you can make it taste good enough that you could pass on the pastries.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's good. Where most people screw up with breakfast, they just don't have enough protein, right? Even like eggs in general, like one egg is only about 7 grams of protein, which isn't all that much.
6 grams of protein.
What?
6 grams of protein.
6 grams of protein, right? So not a lot, right? So if you eat 3 eggs, it's like 18. And we want to be getting to like 30 to 40 for a female per meal, right? So maybe that's adding in some chopped up chicken breast from the night before or some nitrate-free lunch meat or something like that.
I mean, like bacon is going to give you a little, like it can notch you into the right direction. Maybe you do a little bit of protein powder into your coffee and you're already having that coffee with breakfast. That is a really good way to sneak a little bit extra in. Maybe you do a protein shake with your breakfast to boost your egg. Maybe you have 2 eggs and a protein shake, and that's going to put you in that 30 to 35 mark for most people. Right. And then you're not drinking water. I have now given you a beverage that you can drink, and the protein is going to absorb. So it's going to be great for women and men that are in that over 40 age bracket where your absorption of protein decreases. Now your ability to absorb a protein shake is higher than to be absorbing eggs. Also, for anyone that's worried about, like, aren't eggs bad for me? Well, here, eat a couple and then eat some protein shakes. Like, you know.
Right. Stop it. This isn't 1995. Eggs are good now. 1
or 2 eggs is definitely not enough for breakfast. Like, that is not breakfast. That is a snack, and Ezra eats more than that for breakfast. So, like, eat more for breakfast.
It's true. He is 2.5 years old, and he eats probably 3 eggs. So, I mean, something that's kind of interesting is like you could do the egg thing and then maybe you do like strawberry, unsweetened almond milk, protein powder, some greens, and like a little mini shake on the side. Yeah. So, all right. So we got veggies. That was a really long rant. Well, it was good. It was good. All good things.
Non-veggie or options to have veggies at breakfast. But maybe it doesn't have to be veggies at breakfast. Maybe you add fruit to your breakfast so you can have a more color. Like color on your plate is important. Eggs, kind of boring. 2 colors-ish. But, like, can you add some strawberries and some blueberries or maybe blackberries? Like, here's a fun, now you have some color on your plate. You're going to get those antioxidants, keep you from getting the sickness, and ta-da.
Speaking of the sickness, cold and flu is on sale all of this week.
Oh, my God, I didn't even mean for us to segue there. That's really
no. I think that's an episode maybe next week, talking about some immune protocols, but continue.
Other thing I think is really we always think we need to have veggies at every meal, and veggies at every meal is great as that is. Maybe you just don't want to eat vegetables for breakfast, and that's totally fine. I kind of fall into I don't eat a lot of vegetables for breakfast camp all of the time. I do really good if I have leftovers, but it doesn't always happen. So how do I boost my veggies throughout the day? Salads are where it's at. Like you could have 5 servings of vegetables in a salad if you do a salad as a meal. And I think that's a really important thing to think about, because if our goal is to get 1 at every meal and we have 5 servings of vegetables at lunch, like you just kind of crush the day in one meal. And like, who doesn't love to crush a meal at one thing? And then you can have veggies with your dinner as well. And then like you had a really great day. So like a couple cups of lettuce. Every cup of lettuce is going to be, or greens is going to be a serving. And then any half a cup of anything cut up that you put in it is going to be another serving of vegetables. So like onions, peppers, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, like there's no way that you can't get a cup or a cup and a half of those things into a salad. And then 2 to 3 cups of lettuce is like, that's like really what a salad is as a meal. Like we're still only talking about like a couple 100 calories. Toss in some veggies or toss in some protein, good quality like olive oil, balsamic, like oil it up. Maybe you add some avocado. Maybe you add Trevor's go-to cottage cheese. Maybe you're going to use salsa as dressing and make it a taco salad. Tons of options there to make
salsa as dressing. Highly underrated. Highly underrated.
Totally underrated. Guacamole is dressing. Another totally underrated.
Right. I think we always think about oils, right, as dressing, but we forget like cottage. And really, all you're trying to do is add moisture. Like at the end of the day, that's what you're doing, is trying to give some moisture to your greens.
And you get a lot more cottage cheese or a lot more avocado or a lot more salsa than you do oil. So if you're someone that wants an overly liquidy salad,
right.
Maybe olive oil isn't the right option but like vinegars work really well well too. But you'll want some oil to balance that, or some type of cheese or like good quality fat in there as well too to to balance out the acidic. But so that is like kind of my bang for the buck. And then veggies, like if you are having spaghetti, and let's not even go on like, oh, can I have spaghetti? I do not want to have this debate, but like if you have spaghetti, it should have a side salad. If you're gonna have pizza for dinner, it should have a side salad. Like you should eat a vegetable. We just make that normal. Like I did this on a fire call. We talked about like when you go to Pizza Ranch, what do you eat first?
Me personally?
Buffet. If you're gonna eat the buffet, what do you do first?
You do big salad first.
So everyone does a big salad when they go to Pizza Ranch and have a buffet. Like everyone on the call agreed that they did that. So when you eat pizza at home, what do you eat first?
Well, that's because I have to make the salad, right? Like when I go to the buffet, the salad is already made. So we get rid of the I have to do something fact, which then makes compliance a whole lot easier, right? It's human nature.
Yeah. Well, what if you just always do salads for dinner? So like it's kind of pre-made and always ready to go.
See, then there you go, right? So you've gotten rid of the...
It's not necessarily the eating of the veggies that's the problem. It's the habits that go into eating the vegetables that are the most important thing.
Right. Like we all know like what healthy eating is, right? I could go ask a bum on the street, right? And he could tell me like, all right, cool, I should probably eat some more vegetables, drink some water, yada, yada, yada. But like the difference between knowing and doing is a huge canyon, right? And so I think you hit on a very important point there, where if we make healthy eating or healthier eating the easy choice, we're much more likely to do it, right? So we get rid of some of those barriers, like if you're gonna make a salad, make a big salad for the week where everything's chopped up and it's just a matter of like throwing things together. I kind of tell some people to run their kitchen and their refrigerator kind of like a restaurant, right? Where we chop up a bunch of stuff and that goes in little baggies or little containers in the refrigerator. So now when I want a salad, I pull out the tomatoes, I pull out the cucumbers, I pull out the feta cheese, and then I just like assemble it, right? The worst thing about doing anything is the prep work, right? That is the worst thing. So let's just do that once.
So let's talk
for the
about
week.
like organizing your refrigerator to actually be successful and use those things. Like I spent all day Saturday binge watching The Home Edit on Netflix. There had to be a go to this, but like they organize people's houses, their homes, their fridge, their pantries, or whatever. If you had an organized refrigerator where you had a salad shelf and everything was in containers that you could see into, stop using containers that you can't see into. Those black ones are not helpful when you're trying to make a salad. Maybe you actually label your Tupperware containers like this one is for this and this one is for this. And like there's spaces for it in the fridge. So like my salad spinner always has lettuce in the refrigerator. If I open my fridge and my salad spinner is not in there, I know I have no lettuce. Well, I now need to go buy lettuce. I spin all of my stuff in a salad spinner, and it basically like it has a spot in my refrigerator, not in my camper fridge. I don't live that way here. My salad spinner doesn't fit in it, but like knowing if your stuff has a space in your fridge, you'll know what's missing and you know what you need to fill in, and like knowing what stuff you like on salads. So like having a shelf dedicated to salad prep could be really important if that's a habit that you want to add to your life. So like if you have room to put ice cream in your freezer, then ice cream is going to go in that spot in the freezer. But if you take that spot out and that's now where you put extra bacon in your freezer, well, there's no room for ice cream in the freezer. So like you can you can make these edits just by like how you organize your refrigerator and your freezer to be successful. If there's not room for stuff that can't be put in there, so you can't buy it when you go to the store.
So what I found interesting, and I actually haven't done this, but I think it's interesting. is those like restaurant, like Subway. When you go to Subway, they have like a container for all of their vegetables, like those just little restaurant style. They sit well on top of each other. I've always thought about that as being a really interesting way to organize your refrigerators, using kind of containers like that. Yeah, they're plastic, and we could probably have that debate, but it's cold. Or you could use glass containers. And I like the little label thing. I think that's super interesting. The other thing too is, why not just you could just make a huge salad, just mix it all together right away, and it's already there, and you just like pull out some handfuls, right? You do that once in the beginning of the week and once in the middle of the week. What's up?
That I use some veggies. I would only argue that I use some veggies that I wouldn't want sitting on my lettuce all week. But like that is like my personal preference. That's why like I personally do it one way. But you could do mason jar salads, and like liquid to the bottom, lettuce goes on top, and then it drips down. So the wettest stuff is going to be on the bottom. So there are ways to do a mason jar salad and make them work all week long. So it just be how you layer it appropriately. I am really big on labeling the stuff that you buy, and it has a container. So when the container is in the sink and you're washing it, you can now add that thing to your grocery list. So I think like having a grocery list like that is actually running and you know what you need is really important. So like I always have cherry tomatoes that sit in a glass dish on my counter because I'll eat them throughout the day. This is also how I get more vegetables in throughout the day because I need to work on this. But cherry tomatoes don't need to be refrigerated, so they're out on the counter. I'm not going to gain weight from snacking on cherry tomatoes. That is not going to be how I lose it, but it is how I get some veggies in throughout the day if I say don't have any at lunch. So I think setting yourself up, but also I know when that dish is empty, that means I need to buy cherry tomatoes and they go on the list. So like having stuff like that when it's empty, you know that this is what you're refilling, can be really important. And also making sure things that you want to be in your home, there are space for them. So if you want to make better choices, but there's no room in your pantry, you got to take the stuff out that isn't going to contribute to you getting to your goals. So the stuff that's going to contribute has space in your house.
Right. I mean, like at the end of the day, if someone just decided that every meal, and I think I challenge some clients to do this too, especially when they're eating out, is just every meal try and get 1 to 2 servings of vegetables or fruits. Like if you just made that, that was just kind of like a non-negotiable for you. Like choose the restaurants that you're going to eat at based on the ones that have veggie availability, right? So like if we looked at like Burger King versus Subway, like they're not all that different to an extent. One's in a burger format, one's in a sub format. But at Subway, I can load up my sub with a ton of veggies. I can get like 3 to 5 servings of veggies because I can add to it. And then I can ask them to put a little more on, and I can make a really big sub full of veggies, right? That's not necessarily the case at like a Burger King. Yeah, I mean, both the chickens are probably the same, and like yes, Subway has a healthier connotation to it. But the biggest difference is I can add a ton of veggies to my sub. And so I'm probably going to choose Subway over Burger King because of the mere fact that I just want some more vegetables in my life. And that's just a nice little rule, right? Rule with quotations to live by.